My second question is around knowledge cafes. Okay. Now you've been renowned for conducting knowledge cafes in London and across the world. And you recently conducted one at the the CII KM India Summit as well. Right. So my question is that we have knowledge cafes, we have bar camps, unconferences, mind maps, lateral thinking, and a lot of other what I would say methods to generate conversations.
Yes.
What really separates knowledge cafes from the rest of these methods?
I think, and it's taken me a little while to realise this, that one of the real powers of the Knowledge Cafe is the fact, kind of paradoxically, is that there is no intended outcome.
Okay, there is no intended.
Now that might seem strange. Because a lot of people always say when they hear about the cafes, because the cafes are basically a simple process of bringing people together to have a conversation around a topic that they're interested in. The goal is to better understand the topic, to better understand your own view on the issue, because when you start to talk about something, you start to you articulate your own view, you start to understand your own view better, but also to understand other people's view, and also to kind of build relationships. But that's fundamentally the outcomes of the cafe, and clearly those are very intangible. You're not saying we're bringing you together to make a decision or to create an action plan. We're here to have a conversation to better understand the issues. Now, what I've learned in all the feedback from people who have run cafes, they say once there's no longer that need to make a decision or to come up with an action plan, it frees them up. Now they can say what they like to a large degree, so they can speak their minds. Also, when somebody else says something that they disagree with, they don't feel as if they've got to fight their corner. Because there's no winning or losing in the cafe. They now feel that they can sit there and listen. I did a cafe 3 months back in Amsterdam for a law firm.
For a law firm, okay.
And of course, lawyers are much more oriented towards debate. And there was one of the partners, woman, in the room. And after we ran the cafe, we came to the end of the cafe, I'd asked people what they thought of the process. And she said, she shared this with the group, she said, when we started, and we were having a conversation, I tended to kind of have a conversation the way I normally do. I needed to win the argument. That's what lawyers do.
That's what
we don't lose arguments. We fight our corner. The idea is to win it. That's what it's about. And then she said, oh, this is a cafe. David's explained that's not what a cafe is about. I don't actually need to win. And she said that was an amazing kind of psychological release. Because all of a sudden now, she could have a conversation and enjoy it. Because it wasn't a battle anymore. It was about learning from each other. And to me, that was sort of a really high accolade for the cafe. Because the problem is in our organisations, we rush to make decisions. We rush to make a decision.
Right.
And in many ways, it doesn't really matter if it's a good decision or a bad decision, as long as we make a decision. If we could only take the time to say, okay, let's delay making the decision because we need to better understand the issue. Having that conversation around the issue and then making the decision later. I mean, see, the other thing here with Café is you could all decide that. Well, maybe not all. Let's say the manager in charge here has already decided in his own mind that a particular course of action is the appropriate one. He could then find that the real problem in the group is that nobody agrees, and that there isn't any real buy-in or urgency or
agreement
to the action. And although he might feel it's the right one, he might actually, or she might decide not to pursue it because it's probably going to end up in failure because these people in their own way are not committed. They may well even sabotage in some subtle way what's trying to be done. So even if you maybe agree on something, if the people of you realise through the conversation that the people of the organisation are not ready, you might decide not to pursue it.
Have strong business outcomes, or
Yeah. So the cafe is just very, very powerful in that sense.
it's a very powerful medium to generate conversations. And,
Yeah.
I attended one down there, and it was constantly hitting my mind that the objective is not to my idea is not better than yours.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So that's great, and I would really put it across. A higher degree of emotional quotient is being exchanged in a.
Actually, I think the other thing about the cafe is that it can be engaging, because now you're not being talked at or told what to do, you're actually engaging with it. It can be inspirational. If I'm having a conversation with you, or maybe there's a third person, and we're really getting engaged, and maybe between us we surface an interesting idea, maybe it's a new product or a new service or tweaking something, there's a different level of excitement.
Right,
when we say,
right.
okay, we're going to go away and do something. So the cafes can stimulate thinking, they can stimulate action. They're much more emotional, they're much more human things than people often say to me, David, how can we have a conversation on the web? How do you have a knowledge cafe on the web? And I say, well, you can't. You can communicate and you can have something that you might call a conversation, but to me, a real conversation is what we're having now. Face to face. All the body language, everything that goes with it.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.